When I first met my husband, Ian, he asked me what my favorite ingredient was, and I immediately said, potatoes. Now, he laughed and thought I was kidding, but that was the truth. Potatoes are one of my all-time favorite foods. So when I tried this recipe for Spanish-style potatoes, my mind was blown. These are some of the best potatoes I've ever had.
So Patatas Bravas is probably the most popular tapas dish, right? You go to any tapas restaurant, they're gonna have them. And the reason is they're really, really good fried potatoes. And who doesn't like that, right? It's very good. So I'm gonna start with the potatoes. This is a russet potato. It's the perfect one for this recipe. They're very high in starch and they're very dry, so they cook up really fluffy inside. We're using 2 1/4 pounds of russet potatoes. They're normally double fried. It accomplishes 2 things. On the first low fry, you get basically the potatoes cooked through really gently.
That makes sense.
Then you take them out and you increase the temperature of the oil so you get really nice browning on the second fry. We wanted to mimic that in some ways, and we're using a really different technique. So this is 8 cups of boiling water, and we're gonna add to it 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, which is a bit of an odd ingredient to throw into boiling water, but it serves a really good function. Okay, so now I'm gonna add the baking soda, foams up a little bit.
Oh, look at that.
And then I'm gonna add my potatoes right in. So that's a lot of potatoes for this much water.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
The temperature's gonna drop a little bit. It takes a little while for it to come back up, but once we're at a boil, we wanna go for a minute. And that's
1 minute.
just enough to get that outside kind of mushy.
So let's talk about why we boil the potatoes with a little baking soda for just 1 minute. The baking soda, with its high pH, breaks down the pectin, causing the cells to leak and release starch, but only on the exterior of the potatoes because of the short cooking time. This starchy layer on the outside of the potatoes is what eventually turns into that golden, crisp crust that Patatas Bravas are known for.
All right, so Julia, this has been about a minute of boiling, so we just got that exterior done. So I'm gonna turn it off and it's time to drain. So I'm gonna put the potatoes back in the pot on the burner. And what we wanna do is dry them out a little bit. You know, if you have a wet food and you try to fry it, it doesn't brown very rapidly. So this step, I have them over low heat for just 30 seconds, a little bit of stirring, and we'll drive off that excess moisture. Okay, so now that the potatoes are off the heat, I'm gonna add the salt. I have 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. Obviously, it's gonna season them, but it's also gonna act as an abrasive.
So the salt's almost acting like a little bit of a sandpaper, roughing up the exterior of the potatoes.
All right, so that's about 30 seconds there. You can see they're nice and pasty. So I'm gonna turn off the heat, and we're gonna transfer them to this baking sheet here. So you can see a lot of steam coming off.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get lots of evaporation. They're gonna dry even more, so they fry better down the line. We can let them sit here for up to 2 hours and cool. Those potatoes have been cooling. Now it's time to shift over and make the sauce.
Ooh.
And my other favorite thing about Patatas Bravas is there's actually 2 sauces classically with it. A spicy tomato sauce, and that's actually where the name Patatas Bravas comes from. Bravas meaning fierce or angry, so it's a spicy tomato sauce. And the other one is an alioli, which is not totally unsimilar to a mayonnaise, but it has a garlic paste as the emulsifier. So you just mix in oil. It's a little bit of a tough thing to make, so we're actually gonna go with store-bought mayonnaise. We're gonna use garlic paste because we want this sauce to be really smooth. And a quick way to do that is actually using a microplane like this, a rasp grater. So I grab it with the stem end here because I'm gonna kind of leave that on there at the end. And I simply just run it down the microplane.
No, I love this trick. I do it all the time at home, and I also use it for ginger.
All right, so that's great. I have a tablespoon of vegetable oil. I'm gonna put this over medium-low heat. Then I'm gonna put the garlic in next. So I've also got a teaspoon of sweet smoked paprika. It's a really important flavor in a lot of Spanish cooking. I also have a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. And then here's the cayenne. So this is where the bravas comes in, the spiciness.
I'm gonna step back. That's a lot of cayenne.
It is, so you can do a 1/2 to 3/4 of a teaspoon. We're gonna go crazy, we're gonna go 3/4.
All in.
All in, right? So we're gonna just cook this for about 30 seconds here, just to kind of bloom the spices.
Oh, you can really smell it.
Yeah.
Oh, that smells good.
Okay, so 30 seconds, that's nice and aromatic. We're good. Our next ingredient is tomato paste. So we want it to be really smooth. It's not chunky. You don't want a chunky tomato product. Tomato paste is really concentrated, add a lot of flavor. All right, I'll stir that in. And another 30 seconds here, kind of bloom that flavor as well. All right, that's great. Next up, I have a 1/2 cup of water. That's gonna thin it out, create our sauce. And just whisk it in. Helps to kind of break up the tomato paste, which can be kind of thick. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this up to a boil over high heat, which is gonna happen real fast because we've already got the heat on there. Okay, so now it's up to a boil. I'm gonna bring it down to medium-low and cook for about 4 to 5 minutes and really thicken it up. Okay, so it's been 4 minutes. It's getting nice and thick, nice and concentrated, so that's perfect. All right, so I'm gonna transfer this to this big bowl over here. My final ingredient for this sauce is 2 teaspoons of sherry vinegar, which is a really nice vinegar, tons of flavor. So whisk that in. We're gonna let this cool completely, and then we're gonna finish the sauce up, and then it's time to fry the potatoes. Julie, it's time to fry.
All right.
Are you excited?
I love frying.
I do too. Yeah, and this is going to be great. So we've got 3 cups of vegetable oil, and this is at 375 degrees. We're going to add the potatoes all at once. So just bring my pan over, get it nice and low in there, and drop them in. We wanted to go down on oil because no one likes to fry with a ton of oil.
Yep.
So we tried it in one test, and they came out really nice. And we figured out that it's actually not unsimilar to when we do the double fry method. You start with a low temperature and then do a high temperature. Here, the oil drops significantly in temperature. So you get really low heat, cook them through nice and gently without too much browning. Then as the temperature climbs, they start to brown and crisp. So it's gonna take about 20 to 25 minutes. They're gonna turn nice and golden brown in that time, and we don't have to take them in and out of the pot a bunch of times. So while these are frying, we're gonna finish up our sauce over here. I've got my cooled sauce, and I mentioned that alioli before, which is that garlic-based mayonnaise. So what we're gonna do is actually just use store-bought mayonnaise, and I've got a 1/4 cup of it here. The best thing is when these two sauces kind of merge on the plate, so we're basically just doing that ahead of time. We're cheating, you know?
I'm all for cheating.
Okay, as long as it tastes good, right?
Yep. Oh, that would be good on sandwiches. In my head right now, I'm thinking of all the things I could slather this sauce on, and there's a lot.
It is a lot. So if this goes missing in a minute, I'll know. Okay, so about 25 minutes, and you can take a look and see they're beautiful golden brown, nice and crispy.
Those look gorgeous.
They look good, right? You can hear them too, how crunchy they are against the spider there. So I'm going right onto paper towel. We could just go into the wire rack, but that paper towel is gonna help absorb more of the oil. And when they're coming out is really the time when a lot of that oil gets sucked back into the potato. So putting them onto paper towel makes a big difference. They look good, huh?
They look terrific.
All right, so while they're nice and hot, I'm also gonna season them with some salt. They have a little bit in the crust, so you don't need to go too heavy, but seasoning right now, nice and high up, even distribution on there. Salt's gonna stick better while they're hot. Okay, so those are ready now.
They look amazing.
They look good, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna serve you a few here, and I'll give you some sauce.
Swooning. Potatoes really are my all-time favorite.
And because we use those russets, it's really nice and fluffy inside.
Yeah, there's the texture difference, the crunchy on the outside and really creamy on the inside, and it tastes like potato because we used russets.
The sauce is pretty fierce, right?
Oh, the sauce. This sauce would be good on cardboard, man. This sauce is killer.
And it's nice because it's spicy from all the cayenne, but then the mayonnaise kind of mellows it out a little bit.
These potatoes are the bomb. So for my new favorite potato recipe, you start by boiling the potatoes for 1 minute in water laced with baking soda. Then after draining, cook them in a dry pot with some salt before finally deep frying them until they're super golden and crisp. So from the test kitchen to your kitchen, a brand new recipe for Patatas Bravas. You can get this recipe, all the recipes from this season, along with our tastings, testings, and selected episodes on our website at americastestkitchen.com. Thanks for watching America's Test Kitchen. What'd you think?
Well, leave a comment and let us know which recipes you're excited to make, or you can just say hello.
You can find links to today's recipes and reviews in the video description.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
See you later.
I'll see you later.